you shouldn't be thinking about retiring, first of all, because the world is going to change so much.
You talked about the silent, you gave a number, 15% annual dilution of a real purchasing power. And you gave a kind of strong example, even saying $100 million just sitting there in cash bleeds out, because at 15%, after 3 years, that's like 40 million down, basically. When did you first realize we were living in a world where the denominator itself was broken?
You know, I've been in financial markets for a long time, and they bring out the inflation numbers, and then you look deeper into what the inflation numbers are. You look around you, and you realize that the things that you're comparing year to year, like, you know, your airplane tickets, your hotels, your fancy meals, like those are not moving at 2%. Like, they're moving at a much, much higher rate. And if you zoom out 5 years, you can exponentially see that, because it's not like 2 versus 10. It's, you know, it's what's supposed to be 10%, and it's actually like 100%. And so you realize something else is going on. But what is a monetary system? Like, what is money? This is a question I've been dealing with for 20 years. I feel like it's such a fundamental question. And it matters when society changes, not just how money has been treated for the last 50, 100 years, where, you know, we've moved off of gold and we have these government currencies. We treat them as, you know, treat this as a representation of, you know, what we can get. So you have this much money, you can get more stuff, you know, whatever we're doing, we do our lives, we get our money, and we just switch that off. I think we're increasingly getting to a point where this abstraction that we create, where we don't think about it, is going to go away, because there are going to be such profound changes to, you know, what is money and how society uses it. And there was this quote I put, which is, "There is no retirement. I love you." So,
I have it.
Because people are like, does it take 10 million to retire? You know, people get like really riled up. Like, how much does it take to retire now? Is 10 million enough? Am I going to live off of this? It's thinking about retiring and just kicking back and taking your, you know, money you saved, and like now you're just going to live off of that and retire, is, you're like completely missing the game. There is no retirement. If you're 80 years old and you're listening to this, then sure, like, you know, you want to have your day-to-day met for, like, you know, the next 20 years, that's fine. But for any person like under 50, thinking about like, what do I need to retire? You shouldn't be thinking about retiring, first of all, because the world is going to change so much.
Well, let's talk about it now.
Let's fucking go.
Where is the puck going?
Crypto is I would say the cleanest representation of that. And then the second, which is stronger but harder to get into, is going to be like investing in these like emergent technologies. Look, there's going to be such a huge backlash between the haves and have-nots, because we'll get to like the hack that, look, just to tie it all together. Investing in crypto, specifically like mainly Bitcoin, which is like a very safe one, but then also being able to potentially like find accelerants in some of the other cryptos, if you're like so deep in the space, you can understand, you know, what's happening with the other ones. This concept of like having 2% or 5% in crypto, if you think about why you should have that 2%, and then you realize like, actually, like you should just like have as much as you can without getting any risk of, you know, having to sell. You don't want to be in a position where you're a forced seller. But going to that limit has made sense for the last few years, and I think will continue to make sense for the next few years as well.